Hello and welcome to another Office Hours. Capsule. That's right, Capsule. This is a short piece of my Office Hours live stream that I do on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/theastropub, youtube.com/theastropublive. I'd love to have you join us live. Join the chat. I do these little segments so that you don't have to listen to 4 hours of a podcast or of me talking. But we go over all over the place. We talk a little bit about video game music and specifically looked at like Jeff Zanelli's music and Pedro Camacho's for Star Citizen and Squadron 42. So speaking of Squadron 42, let's get into the Squadron 42 monthly report for May 2024. Alrighty, so monthly May 2024. AI content. AI content developed a new background manager to handle all non-scene script sequences. This update has streamlined the main mission manager, stabilizing it for core flow operations and significantly reducing bugs. For the opening level, they completed the R&D for the new AI look at the new look at technology. This enhancement significantly improves the visuals when NPCs look at the player, featuring profiles that allow them to glance weakly or stare strongly based on the situation, adding a layer of realism and depth to character interactions. They also made adjustments to the pathing of scripted walkers in the Stanton to avoid critical scenes and improve visual consistency. In addition, they suppressed greeting dialogue for NPCs shortly after workouts, as previous content did not sound appropriately out of breath, ensuring a more realistic experience. So it sounds like they would go, Lieutenant? They'd be like, whoo, 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 Lieutenant? The chat line was improved by decreasing idle times between interactions, making AI feel more responsive and realistic. To further enhance dynamic conversations, facial animations were added for additional voice packs. Janitor cleaning spots were also adjusted to avoid high-traffic areas to help reduce bugs. Furthermore, cleaning spot regeneration now occurs only when the players are not nearby, enhancing both performance and realism. AI features. Last month, AI features worked towards consistent behaviors across different combat scenarios, ensuring that AI characters react in believable ways no matter what the situation they're in. The team began by improving the unifying perception reactions, improving cover use in different scenarios, and making a holistic evaluation of all combat elements to ensure they work as intended. This is particularly important with the recent improvements for hostility system. For example, if an AI comes across two others fighting, and they are friendly with both, doing nothing is not a valid response. For the first time past implementation, the AI will run and cower when the situation arises. Although this isn't ideal, it will be improved upon. This was a copy and paste from the monthly report from Star Citizen as well, because the features team tend to be the back-end stuff as well. Same with tech. AI tech. AI tech improved the functionality of NPCs pushing trolleys and using elevators alongside updates to behaviors for elevator use. Smoother innovations when NPCs move away from trolleys and improved functionality for NPCs parking trolleys were implemented too. Jesus, that's a lot of trolleys. AI tech also began to work on NPCs to understand when cover is being destroyed or when parts of usables are being destroyed. This will prevent NPCs from attempting to find or use unsuitable cover. For ship AI, the team continued making improvements and fixing bugs related to following splines and backstrafing. Backstrafing. Animation. May saw gameplay animation further develop various player interaction moments, such as interacting with levers, vehicles, clothing, etc. They also worked to improve the feel of zero-G movement and created additional first select animations, which are used when the player gets a new weapon. Combat AI polishing continues, with a focus on refining the motion capture flow. The team also discussed how entity movement implies enemy logic and how it can be improved. The social team continued to work through multiple chapters, focusing on placement of the creation of life animations to bring the feeling of a living, breathing ship. The motion capture team supported both gameplay and story elements and completed a shoot for a new enemy class. They discussed how to leverage the mocap team's experience in solving and retargeting to improve burn down in other places. Vanduul face animation progressed too, as well as animations for various Tier 2 story characters and the player character. Gameplay story. Throughout May, gameplay story continued polishing characters for Chapter 1. In Chapter 1, following feedback, including fist bumping, looking at the player, fiddling with turret buttons, and walking off with their helmets. That's a pretty big indication. Again, for those of you who don't know, I am of the opinion that the first chapter is either going to be playable or at least displayed to us at CitizenCon, based off of all of the stuff they've been doing. And this, every month, it seems to be more and more that they're really, really fine-tuning Chapter 1 and Chapter 4. This is the second month they've mentioned both of them in multiple places. So it could be that we have a vertical slice for, say, Chapter 4 and a playable section for Chapter 1 for players at CitizenCon or something to that effect. But we'll see. That's not guaranteed. It's my supposition based off of all of these emphasis on these two chapters. A tour in Chapter 4 also saw improvements. For example, player choice was added at the beginning, along with a new idle and abandoned animations. A key meet scene was overhauled and updated mocap to make it more robust, where idles and exit animations were approved for another scene. So that's implying likely that it's the Moro tour, which was the one we saw in the first, not vertical slice, but the first kind of preview of the gameplay. New audio was added to scenes in Chapters 4A and 5. A scene in Chapter 4D was updated to account for a new console position, and a console animation was repaired in Chapter 14. Several new scenes were created too, including a hiding survivor, a conversation in the mess hall, a moving forklift truck, a medic healing the player, and a deck crew inspecting a Gladius. Level design. Social Design continued to work on their focus chapters, alongside addressing review feedback and fixing bugs. Part of this involved implementing fail states, objective markers, emails, ship chat, checkpoints, Galactopedia entries, and more. This was also an opportunity to clean up loose ends with various scenes. For example, new mocap was used to improve several scenes where the narrative content played out well but didn't close out as cleanly. Narrative. May saw the narrative team continuing to drill down on the remaining tasks for Squadron 42. That sounds final, y'all. That sounds very final. If narrative is wrapping up, that means that it's technical, mostly. Probably still got other things that they have to come into, but there's a lot of polish. It's a lot of finality being talked about for May. Yeah, remaining is a big name. That's a big word. I don't want to get people's hopium and copium up, but like, CIG is telegraphing the same way that they telegraphed right before Squadron or CitizenCon last year that they were going to do something big, and we got the I Held the Line trailer with them entering polish. This is, again, more telegraphing that there's something that's going to be big. I still think it's a release date announcement, but we'll see. They continued reviewing tasks to make sure that they represent a comprehensive list, but also see if there are any that could be tackled without waiting on other teams. They continued to sit in on playthroughs of levels with other teams, as well as their own to provide feedback on narrative experience. Narrative also continued writing Galactopedia entries and worked with core gameplay to define where they will appear in levels. So for those of you who don't know, the Galactopedia, which is on the website right now, they're kind of transferring a bunch of that to Squadron so that it'll pop up at specific times where you can access your Moby and learn something new. Think Codex entries from Mass Effect, so which is neat. Narrative also worked with several outsourced freelancers to develop collectibles that will be scattered throughout the levels for players to find. Very interesting. We don't hear a lot about CIG using freelancers, but that's interesting. That's a new one. It's been exciting to see the work come in, and we're looking forward to seeing players react to them. Narrative team. Again, that sounds like they're going to be showing us something. Following up on last month's report, a new testbed was developed for collaboration with gameplay and audio teams to test the dogfighting combat experience and make sure the wild lines for various pilots trigger correctly. When complete, this will provide an in situ environment to ensure the technical setup is working, but also that the personalities of the various gangs come through in a way that they talk as well as fight. R&D. For volumetric cloud renderings, stochastic cat-mole ROM texture filtering was implemented for the new half-res render mode upsampler. The number of ray marching steps now also scales with the scene depth to improve performance in scenes with near-distance occluders, buildings, cockpit terrain, etc. Moreover, progress continued on the temporal render mode. All confidence metrics and transmittance filtering received further tweaks and improvements. A first draft of the code was submitted for internal use. That was a lot of words that I know. Did I say in situ? No, in situ up here, yeah. Tech design. For flight, tech design integrated new AI flight behavior from the PU to Squadron 42. From the PU to Squadron 42? What? Usually it's the other way around. And began improving various combat encounters. They also fixed bugs and made improvements to interactables across multiple chapters. For instance, in Chapter 1 again, terminal screen interactions were polished and new UI art was implemented, and the interaction flow is streamlined. VFX team continue to support art, design, cinematic teams in May. Several cinematic teams are reaching edit lock. Killing me with this hopium CIG, which means the camera positions are mostly finalized, enabling VFX artists to dial in their effects to match each shot. So there's a couple of big hints in here. Number one, a lot of words that seem to implement it to imply that CIG is reaching an end state for Squadron 42. Not unusual considering what we saw at CitizenCon and their announcements and such, and it's May, so.
You can take away my spaceship.
Forgot to turn that off.
You can take away my space suit.
There we go. Sorry about that. And yeah, lots of references to Chapter 1. Mention of AI flight behavior being ported from PU to Squadron, which is another thing that's pretty big. I think a lot of people were concerned that Squadron would take up more resources because once Squadron wraps up, they'll be working on the second kind of installment for Squadron, because Squadron is going to be 3 games. We're just going to get the first version soon-ish. Soon. So the fact that they're starting to use PU data back into Squadron 42 means that they've tested the Squadron 42 AI with players and found things that the players are doing better, and so they're changing the PU combat AI and moving it backwards. So now we're starting to see that. I'll say there's a lot of stuff that seem to be pointing towards something being announced at CitizenCon, and that they're wrapping stuff up. So we'll see. Am I just overdosing on copium? Are you of the opinion that Squadron 42 will come out when the heat death of the universe comes out? Do you see the same signs that I am seeing in these monthly reports? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you enjoyed this, make sure you hit the like button Subscribe for more content and hit the bell icon to be notified when these release and when we go live. And join these wonderful folks here live where we discuss lore, news, and more of Star Citizen. Love to have you come on. And with that all being said, thank you for watching. And remember, I hope to see you someday in the black.